sharing their faith, business, and ministry.
I'm pretty handy around the house, but now that I have kids, I don't want to spend my Saturday installing a toilet or fixing an air conditioner. But thankfully, there's Home Advisor. Home Advisor helps me find the best home pros in my area to handle any kind of project. You can read reviews of the pros, check their availability, even book appointments online. And what my wife loves most is that Home Advisor is completely free to use.
Go to homeadvisor.com or download the free app to get started.
Home Advisor.
As we start the week, the biggest threat for severe weather will be in two areas in the Midwest, certainly around Illinois and Indiana. Chicago, you'll hit a high of 83 degrees, but you do want to watch out for some severe weather. Rain also stretching up into parts of Wisconsin and Michigan, as down far south as Tennessee, western Tennessee. Also the northern plains across the Dakotas, down into Nebraska. Keep an eye to the sky this afternoon. Temperatures will be in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees, and that could trigger some severe weather this afternoon. Otherwise, pretty good weather for the rest of the country. Across the East Coast, you're looking at sunshine and temperatures in the 80s down through Washington, into Virginia, the Carolinas. Up in the Northeast, 75 degrees, at risk of a late-day shower in Boston. We could see some showers down across Florida as well. Orlando, you'll hit 90 degrees. Texas, you're going to be in the 90s today, upper 90s with partly sunny skies. 90s across the West Coast as well. That's your National Weather Forecast. George Brown, NBC News Radio.
Welcome back into the Rhino Radio Morning. 28,000 of you listening worldwide on the Shoutcast. Shout it out loud. We're on the Fringe Radio Network in Hawaii, Earth Rock Radio over there in New Mexico and the Navajo Nation, and all over the JC Sports Networks in East Alabama and West Georgia. All right, well, our guest here this morning is a called apostle of Christ. She hosts the podcast Red Letters Radio. But before that, like many other young women, she experienced heartbreak and broken friendships. She wrote an article about her sexual abuse a few years back in a local newspaper. Today's topic, Suddenly Seeking Susan, the real story. Please welcome our guest this morning right here on the Rhino Radio Mornings, and I know her pretty well as well, Andrah Polanis. Good morning, Andrah.
Good morning, Ryan.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm a little, I've been dealing with some health issues. I've been under the care of a primary care physician here in Alabama.
Right. I know all about this, and now the listeners can know about it. And hopefully, as that's happening, it's getting you back to better health, physically and mentally. But we're going to talk a little bit before the break and continue into the after the top of the hour news with you about your story that was you put in the article a few years back. But let's get a little background on you. Of course, for those of you who know, this is my wife as well. So let's get a little background.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Ryan and I are married. We got the paper. I got papers on it.
You got papers on me. Well, you know what? What I want to do is I want to dive into this, and I want to tell us a little bit about. I want to talk about the beginning of the friendship and everything, and back in the 80s and 90s, it was a total different day. If we had phones back then, all of this would have been on the internet. All this stuff would.
Let me just tell people what this is about first.
Yeah, right. Let's dive into it. Let's talk a little bit about it. Go ahead.
I actually tomorrow at 2:15 Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to appear before a grand jury in Chambers County, Alabama, and I'm going to tell my story under oath, my whole story under oath. That means I have to tell the truth.
Right.
Okay. If I don't tell the truth, I can go to prison for that.
Correct.
Well, being a officer of the court myself, I know I better go in there and tell the truth, right? As I believe it to be, anyway.
Right.
And what happened? It this case is not just about me being raped when I was 16 years old. This is more to this story than just that.
Right,
okay?
right.
All right, the rape case is just a means to an end. And what happened was back in the 80s,
right,
things were a little different. I was 16. It was 1986. I was 16 years old, and girls today can just walk in and out the door like they want to, like boys. But back then, girls had to sneak out. The boys didn't, but if you went to a party or something and you were 16 years old, you had to sneak, okay? And we went to this big party over in Todd Edition, and look, there were underage high school girls there from Lynette High School, Valley High School, and Springwood.
Wow.
Hey, I was not, let me repeat, I was not the only underage 16-year-old. There were even some 14 and 15-year-old girls there.
Ooh, wow.
I was not the only underage girl there that had to, sneak to go to that party, okay? None of our parents back in the 80s, if you were a girl, you couldn't go say, I'm going to this wild party where there's going to be alcohol and pot and a rock band. Okay?
Right. Today, it's no big deal.
Your brother could say that, and they'd say, have fun, but girls couldn't do that. We had to sneak, okay?
Right.
It's different now. Everybody's equal now. But back then, that's the way it was. If I had not been there that night, it would have still happened. It just would have happened to another one of those other girls.
Right.
I just happened to be the lucky one that night, right?
Or unlucky one.
Or unlucky one, right? But I've got to testify about, I've got to give names and details, and I'm 50 now, right? And I was 16 then. And most people are wondering, like, why would you, do this now after all these years? Why not back then?
Right.
Because, like I said, it's not just about what happened that night. Okay, it's about what happened that night and how it's affected the rest of my life, and how it's affected my the way people look at me in my hometown, and how it affected my divorce case, and how it affected my relationship with my pastor, and how people were real biased against me because they believed what these guys said about me.
The
and
lies,
these guys
yes.
targeted me all my life.
Right.
They have targeted me all my life. Every time I got married, every time I had a serious relationship, the guy would come in, we'd be perfectly fine, dating just fine, then all of a sudden he'd come in and start asking me questions about that party that night.
Right.
Now, I'm 30 years old, and I shouldn't be having to answer questions about a party I went to when I was 16.
Exactly. Exactly.
And me, and not even being the only girl there.
Right.
And not only that, they've had other parties, they've done this to other girls, and I've got names of other girls that I'm going to give to the grand jury.
Right. Well, I tell you what, Andrah, we're going to get ready to take a break. We got the USA Radio News coming up at the top of the hour, and we're going to continue talking with you in the next hour. And now that we got a little of the details, when we get back from the break, we're going to dive into that night or how you begin becoming friends with these people. Of course, we're just going to talk about, we're going to talk at A, B, C. There's just going to be...
Yeah, let's talk about how I even know these people.
Yeah, we'll get into all that coming up after the break. So stay with us, guys. We got USA Radio News. We'll get your weather forecast and everything. We've got more with it. It's Suddenly Seeking Susan. And we'll tell you how we come up with that name. The real true story in a small town. Coming up right after this break on the Rhino Radio Penitentiary. You guys stay right there, inmates. Back in a moment.
Hey, I'm Jimmy Ellis, and I'm the pastor here at Noonan City Church. I want to thank you for tuning in to our website and hope that you'll take the time to look throughout the website, all the different activities that are going on in the life of our church. Our purpose statement here at Noonan City is transforming lives for Jesus' sake, and we believe that takes place in three separate pillars. The first one is corporate worship, and we come together each Sunday for our worship services where our focus is on glorifying God. That is the purpose, the focus of our worship services each Sunday. The second pillar is local missions, and we believe that church is not to be contained inside the walls of a building, but rather outside those walls. And we look for opportunities, and we have different partners in the community where we partner with other kingdom-minded ministries that are doing kingdom work. And so encouraging our individuals here at the church to be the hands and feet of Jesus outside the walls of our congregation. So that's the second pillar. And the third pillar is our community groups, our small groups where we meet in homes throughout the community here in Noonan. And the focus of these groups is simply Bible study. It's sitting in the circle, opening up the scriptures, and asking the Holy Spirit to speak to us and through us as we study God's Word. So those are the three pillars, and we believe when you do those three things that there's a transformation that takes place in your life. And that will transform your own family and transform our community, and thus making a difference for the sake of Jesus. Again, thanks for tuning in. I hope to see you Sunday.
WQE 99.1 FM Noonan, WBRQ LaGrange, WZV 90.5 FM Lineville, JC Sports Networks.
Rock out to some rock and roll. And when you do, make a sandwich that rocks. Go with 2 slices of your favorite bread piled high with Eckrich deli meats. And then turn it up to 11. Eckrich, you do you.
You didn't.
Yep.
I thought you learned your lesson.
I guess not.
Dad, the vultures are back.
Okay, kids, you know the drill. Windows up.
Gone too far looking for a good deal on gas? Try Price Match, only from BP Me Rewards at participating BP and Amoco stations. Learn more at bp.com/best price.
USA Radio News with Lance Pry.
The infrastructure bill is currently in the works to become law and will be voted on this week after lawmakers advance the bill Saturday. In the bipartisan bill is a mileage tax for all drivers on American roads within 1 year of passage. Senator Kevin Cramer, Republican from North Dakota, says by passing this legislation, it will make the next partisan infrastructure deal much more difficult for the Democrats.
And we make the next deal much more difficult politically for moderate Democrats to support. So we're actually, in passing this, I think have created a political advantage for moderates and for conservatives in this country.
The senator says he expects a vote by Wednesday. Randy Weingarten, president of the American Federation of Teachers, told NBC News as a matter of personal conscience, she wants a vaccine mandate.
I think that we need to be working with our employers, not opposing them, on vaccine mandates.
We are USA Radio News. Melissa DeRosa, a top aide to disgraced Democrat governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, resigned Sunday. For months, she had been seen during Cuomo's coronavirus news conferences. The New York Attorney General, after a thorough investigation, found Cuomo sexually harassed 11 women, leaving the governor without his top aide as he faces an impending impeachment. It's been well over a year since Americans could freely go into Canada. Dan Araki from the Ohio USA Radio News Bureau has more.
American tourists will be able to travel to Canada for the first time in nearly a year and a half, starting on Monday. The Canadian border is being reopened to fully vaccinated Americans who will be required to follow a checklist to enter the country that includes providing proof of vaccination ahead of traveling, showing no symptoms of COVID-19, and submitting to random COVID testing.
On Sunday, the United States overtook China in the gold medal count at the Olympics with 39 to CCP's 38. The United States led the world with 113 total medals in Tokyo, Japan. USA Radio News. President of the American Federation of Teachers, Randy Weingarten, on NBC News, is calling for a vaccine mandate.
You know, I've been around the country this week. I was in Florida and Missouri as we were pushing a full court press for back to school, and the Delta variants are alarming. and the spread is alarming. So let me just be personal for a moment, which is that vaccines are the single most important way of dealing with COVID. We've always dealt with, or since 1850, we've dealt with vaccines in schools. It's not a new thing to have immunizations in schools. And I think that on a personal matter, as a matter of personal conscience, I think that we need to be working with our employers, not opposing them, on vaccine mandates. And so, and all their vaccine policies. And so I said last week that I wanted to bring my leadership together, and we are this week, to, revisit and to reconsider our policy that we passed in October about voluntary, that the best way to do this was to do it volitionally. Now, let me just say, my members have stepped up. 90% of the teacher members have actually gotten the vaccine. But I do think that the circumstances have changed and that vaccination is a community responsibility, and it weighs really heavily on me that kids under 12 can't get vaccinated.
I'm Lance Pry, and this is USA Radio News.
O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find just the right parts, products, and accessories for your car so you can get the job done right the first time. We'll also test your battery and check engine light, change your wiper blades, and refer you to a repair shop if needed. Trust our professional parts people. We're here to help you keep your car on the road. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts will help you find just the right parts, products, and accessories for your car so you can get the job done right the first time. We'll also test your battery and check engine light, change your wiper blades, and refer you to a repair shop if needed. Trust our professional parts people. We're here to help you keep your car on the road. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit O'ReillyAuto.com.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
As we start the week, the biggest threat for severe weather will be in two areas in the Midwest, certainly around Illinois and Indiana. Chicago, you'll hit a high of 83 degrees, but you do want to watch out for some severe weather. Rain also stretching up into parts of Wisconsin and Michigan, as down far south as Tennessee, western Tennessee. Also the northern plains, across the Dakotas, down into Nebraska. Keep an eye to the sky this afternoon. Temperatures will be in the upper 80s to near 90 degrees, and that could trigger some severe weather this afternoon. Otherwise, pretty good weather for the rest of the country. Across the East Coast, you're looking at sunshine and temperatures in the 80s down through Washington, into Virginia, the Carolinas. Up in the Northeast, 75 degrees, at risk of a late day shower in Boston. We could see some showers down across Florida as well. Orlando, you'll hit 90 degrees. Texas, you're going to be in the 90s today, upper 90s with partly sunny skies. 90s across the West Coast as well. That's your National Weather Forecast. George Brown, NBC News Radio.
Hey, you should move over. Red right return.
Right, red right return.
No, just red right return because
No, I'm saying red right return, but then right to agree.
Okay, but you're on the...
I should have said correct. I know it's red right return, but...
You're on the left and it's red right return. Red right return.
The tides can turn quick on the water. Progressive has you covered as a leader in boat insurance. Get a quote today at Progressive.com.
Oh, I was on the left. Right.
Please stop talking.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
I can do this.
We believe in you.
Each day brings hope.
Every day, millions of people celebrate their recovery from addiction and mental illness while others begin their journey. Be a part of it. Tell your story. Join the Voices for Recovery. Together, we are stronger. For 24-hour free and confidential information and treatment referral for mental or substance use disorders for you or someone you know, call 1-800-662-HELP.
I am Apostle Deborah Harris, Pastor Apostle of Kingdom Connected Ministries International at 121 Hillwood Circle, Noonan, Georgia. Presenting Connecting the Kingdom. Connecting kingdom citizens, kingdom businesses, and advancing the kingdom of God in this hour. Join us each Tuesday at 10 o'clock a.m. with guests who are sharing their faith, business, and ministry.
First, they said cigarettes were safe. We know how that turned out. Now, they say they didn't market e-cigarettes to teens. Fact, More than 1 in 4 high school students are vaping, and 80% say their first e-cigarette was flavored. Vaping is harmful to developing brains. The reason we think vaping is safe? Marketing. Same lies, different day. Tell Big Vape to quit lying.
On behalf of everyone here at Winners Media, yes, that means you too, Taku. As we grow, we want to help you grow as well. Whether you're a small business, a nonprofit, or just a mom and pop store, it's time to review your marketing and advertising. We offer the highest read and circulated print publications in the area, as well as provide social media expertise from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram. Just check us out at winnersmedia.net and let us help you realize your dreams. Right, Taku?
You've been around long enough to know good stuff when you hear it. That's why you're here now. Classic Hits, WQEE 99.1 FM, The Key.
Just in case you've forgotten, let me tell you just in who the hell I am. I am the game. Watch your tongue or have it cut from your head. Save your life by keeping whispers unsaid. Children roam the streets now, orphans of war.
Welcome back into the Rhino Radio Mornings. It's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary. 28,000 of you worldwide on the Shoutcast, shouting out loud. We're on the Fringe Radio Network. We're on Aloha there, and Earth Rock Radio, and all over the JC Sports Networks in East Alabama and West Georgia. We've got a lot more in store for you, so stay right here as the Rhino Radio Mornings continues right here in the penitentiary, and all you guys inmates are in lockdown. And to all my haters out there, I know you hate the truth, but here you go. Here is the truth.
Whether anybody likes it or not, I'm the man around here.
And just like it says right there in that theme, yes, I am the man around here. I give the real life, real truth that is out there. Well, we continue with our guest this morning, who's Apostle of Christ and has her own podcast, Red Letters Radio. And we're diving into the subject that happened to her when she was a teenager and beyond. And it is Suddenly Seeking Susan, the real horror story in a small town. Please welcome once again Andrah Polanis. And we were talking before the break, Andrah. Before the break, you were telling us there was more to it. There was a lot more to it, and we'll dive into that within this hour. But let's go back to the beginning. And, of course, before we say anything else, why we're calling it Suddenly Seeking Susan is you wrote an article for the newspaper a few years ago to put your story out, but you used Susan, quote, as a name instead of putting your name out there. And that's why we're calling this story Suddenly Seeking Susan. But let's go back to the beginning. How you know these people?
I was 38 years old when I wrote that article. So a lot had happened in my life between 16 years old and 38. And a lot of very strange things happened to me, and people were treating me really weird, like they were prejudging me, that when they never really took the time to get to know me. I mean, it was just happening everywhere, every church I went to, every place I worked, and it was this rumor that these guys made up. Now, the rumor was that they had to make up a rumor about me to cover up what they did. So the rumor was that I got drunk and tried to have sex with a guitar, all right? That's what they said, that I was trying to put the guitar in my, JJ.
Right.
Now, I can tell you right now, that's not what I was doing. I was doing an impression of Nikki Sixx, okay? I was not having sex with a guitar. I was trying to.
Well, that's just not capable anyway. Anybody that thinks it is moron.
And like I said, I was drunk, right? We were all drunk. We'd been drinking vodka and smoking pot, and I don't know if
back then.
That's all I did. I don't know if there were other drugs there or not.
No.
That's as far as I would do. I drink a little, smoke a little weed. That was it.
You mean people did that back then? I can't believe that. And they were hiding it. These kids don't hide it today.
Yeah, well, like I said, we all had to sneak. Now, the guys that threw the party were like 21, 22 years old. Okay? They were adults. With a house full of teenagers from Valley, Lynette, Springwood. And like I said, I was not the only underage girl there. Everybody's daughter was there that night. Do you understand?
Do you know where your daughter's at? No, I don't. Well, she was at the party.
If you have a daughter between 47 and 52 years old, and they grew up in Chambers County, she was probably at that party, or she went to one of those parties. I promise you. You didn't know about it because girls had to sneak, but I'm telling you, it was a big party, you know, and that's all. And the way I knew these guys since second grade. The guy whose house it was, I've known him since second grade. We grew up in the same neighborhood. I had no reason to believe that I'd be in any kind of danger or anything in that house, knowing him that long, you know.
Right. Well, you know,
and I was behind a locked door, and the door was picked.
See.
And not by the owner of the house, but by his roommate who he was renting a room to. Now, he could have stopped him from doing that.
Exactly.
He did. He had a duty of care to me. Okay, I was a minor. He was an adult. I was in his house, and he did nothing while somebody else in his house, you know, committed a crime against me. So not only is the guy that picked the lock and went in there, not only is he being charged, but the guy who owned the house is being charged. And I've got to go and testify, and I've got to be under oath, so that means everything I say has to be true to the best of my knowledge, belief, and understanding of what I can remember. And the reason I ended up having to write an article about it at age 38 was because between 16 and 38, a lot had changed in my life. I moved away, got married, had 3 kids, became a Christian, and decided to come back to my hometown around about 30 years old. I moved back to my hometown, married 3 kids. Had a wonderful husband, 3 kids, and he had a good job. And I just, you know, started going to church. And I just went to the church that most of my family went to. But okay, but when I got over there, those people were crazy. Now, I'll give more detail, but I ain't never seen a church like that in my life, where people acted like that and did some of the things they did.
Hanging out in a nightclub.
See, that preacher knew the story about me, too. And they started alienating me. I mean, the weirdos were calling me weird. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, let's get back to the story of moving back to your hometown and this still being said.
Well, I got involved
before you started writing.
Right? Started taking my kids. I was a housewife for a few years because I had babies.
Right.
Okay? And the husband had a good job, so I stayed home, kept the kids, and I took them to church. Okay. He was gone all the time, in and out of town, in and out of town, in and out of town. Later, I found out he had a girlfriend, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, that's a different story.
Well, I had been called into the ministry, but the Lord wanted me to wait until the kids started school before He was going to release me to be more involved in church. I mean, I wanted to get more involved in church. I thought I had just found the best church ever. I had the best pastor, the best friends, everything. And then once the youngest one started kindergarten, I went and expressed my interest to get more involved in the church, cleaning, doing anything. I told him I wanted to be in the ministry, and I don't mind starting from the bottom up and working my way up. That's the way it works, And all of a sudden, everything changed. He called my husband back there in his
Your
office,
ex-husband.
and they stayed back there for about 2 hours talking
Right.
about me.
Right.
And he was back there telling him that story about what happened when I was 16, and convinced him that I had a sex demon in me.
So, okay, can I interrupt a minute?
And he convinced him to divorce me and take the kids, and that he could help him because his uncle was the judge in Chambers County.
Okay, here's the thing. The question I have for that. So you're saying that this story had made it all the way from when you were 16 years old as a 16-year-old rebellious child, like most kids are 16-year-old rebellious kids, to when you're a 30-year-old, 35-year-old woman.
We had people in the church that were in there sleeping around with married men.
Well,
okay,
right.
And they're trying to judge me by something I did before I even got saved. I got saved December 21st, 1999.
Yep.
All right, and every name they called me, that preacher called me back there in his office and had another man in there. They broke protocol. Protocol is if you call a woman in your office, you have to have another woman in there. They broke protocol, and they called me in there with two men and attacked me.
Right.
Verbally. Called me everything but a white woman. Told me I wasn't good enough to be in the ministry.
Well, see, hold on. I got a question. I got a question, babe.
Everything.
But what you were saying,
you know who told him he could do that?
Who?
My ex-husband.
Well, here's the thing.
My ex-husband was in there an hour with him the day before, and he gave him permission to go in there and do that because he told him if he wanted to divorce me and take my kids, his uncle was the judge in Chambers County, and he could make it happen. A week later, nobody liked me in that church.
See, that's what I'm saying.
I lost all my friends. Nobody would even sit by me.
And this is all because of a lie. All because of a lie that was started at a party.
And the guys, look, these guys that did
Wanna
this
be
to
rock
me when I
stars.
was 16 were Satanists, okay? They were bringing satanic Bibles to the skating rink. They were meeting with teenagers and young adults down at the lake, okay, with satanic Bibles. This the same guy that owned this house led a satanic cult down at the lake, all right? I know witnesses I can call and put on the stand that would say they were there.
Well, they're probably not going. They're probably not going to.
And the same witnesses can connect him with these preachers.
Right. Well, see,
I want to know why they targeted me. What did they get out of this?
Okay. Well, my question before we get into that is, we're getting back that everything is connected to these wannabe rock stars. Let's just call them.
Look, these guys are out here going to church now, making everybody think they're Christians. The Satanists.
Thank you for blowing the horn there. Somebody's
I mean,
blowing.
that's a shocker, right? A Satanist pretending. Yeah.
Well, they do it all. They do it out in Hollywood. But anyway, beside the point that is being made, it all goes back to a lie that was orchestrated by wannabe rock stars who have never ever made anything, who actually, I've heard them even say that somebody who currently is a rock star would never make it in the business, and he currently is a rock star. But
all I know is this.
No. What I'm trying to.
Nobody. Why would these guys care
Yes,
what
that's what I was going to
do?
ask you.
Why wouldn't they just go fishing or hunting or ride their motorcycle? Why are they so afraid of me? What is it about me? I mean, this preacher got on the local television station talking about
I wouldn't
me
call
on
it local TV.
I mean, I had relatives calling me up
It was
saying
illegal.
that he was on the local Channel 6 preaching about my divorce.
Well, first.
What on earth would make a woman leave her husband and kids after 9 years of marriage? I mean, they quoted it to me.
Well, see, first of all,
and look, his uncle was the judge, and they railroaded me from the beginning.
we know.
They snatched my children out of my arms. They took my alimony. They took my child support. I was supposed to get half of his retirement, everything. I put him through college.
Well, do you know?
And he that preacher went down there and helped him screw me over is what he did, because his uncle was the judge.
Well, first of all,
Look, he signed a Pendolite. The
Right.
judge perjured
Right.
himself when he signed a
Right.
Pendolite order. Because in that Pendolite order, it says that I didn't have an attorney, and that we were not, trying to have our divorce in another county. That was a lie. We had 2 attorneys in Lee County already working on our divorce when he came over to Chambers County and hired another attorney and got a Pendolite order. The judge perjured himself when he signed a Pendolite order and let them snatch my children out of my arms. We had 2 attorneys in Lee County already working on an out-of-court deal.
Right.
When he pulled this shit over in Chambers County.
Well, first of all, you gotta.
And I went to court and I told the judge, I said, do you know what you did?
Yeah,
When you signed this?
He sounds like he sound. To me, it sounds like there's a kangaroo
he didn't care.
court.
And every time
It was a
the
kangaroo
came to
court.
court, that preacher was with him. He stood right there. Because that man up there with the power was his uncle.
Okay. Well.
And me and my children have suffered parental alienation syndrome ever since. Our relationship can never be repaired now. And you cannot put a price on that.
Well, I tell you what, it all stems back, and what people don't know with the case that you're going into tomorrow, and we're not going to dive into it or anything, but the case that you're going into, here's the thing. The background is that just shows the area of kangaroo type of court. But also, you've got people whose mindset thinks that they can do whatever they want whenever they want because they stuck in 1975, which is not true anymore. That's not what making America great was all about. But anyway, let's get to the real question. The real question is this guy that owned the house years later. Let's go ahead and give this detail out there. Owned a local music shop where he was installing PAs in different churches throughout. Hold on.
Using deductive reasoning at the time when all this was happening, the church was growing really
Right.
fast.
I have a question,
And we
Andrah.
built this big sanctuary.
Right.
Okay, and I kind of put 2 and 2 together. I think he came over to put the sound system in, and
I know
he
he
told
did.
the story.
I know. You put 2 and 2 together.
But
That was the question.
I already know. I think the pastor of that church got caught up between this other pastor. Okay, there's another pastor that was a youth pastor at a church called Evangel Temple. He was connected with these satanic guys.
But what connect? Besides, you got the connection, but what connection to tomorrow in this story has to do with that? Because here's the question I have for you. This gentleman that I get.
But what happened was when I decided to come back to my hometown,
Right.
settle down and raise my kids here.
Right.
I had just been converted to Christianity.
Right.
And the guy that I was married to was an atheist, basically. Like, he finally, I think, he pretended like he believed, but I don't think he ever really did. I think he was just acting. But he wasn't, he didn't believe in any of that. All right, but I did. So I took it upon myself to make sure that I would take my kids to church. Well, at being the man, he would go with me.
Right.
So he just started going, all right, just because he didn't want me going by myself.
Right.
And he didn't want all them other men hugging me and stuff. He wanted to be, everybody to know I had a husband because I was very attractive back then, But anyway, eventually, just coming to church, he really kind of started to change.
Right.
And I think that he was really starting to come around until this pastor. See, what happened was, we were in a prayer meeting, and I just started singing, and this person's headache got healed. Okay. And then this black preacher came. He called me down to the front. All right. He just picked me out of the audience and said, "Come down here." Now, the husband was in the back running the computer for the screen.
Right.
All right. And he said, "God's giving you a healing ministry." Now, all of these preachers were standing there. every one of these preachers that showed up at that courtroom to help him take my kids away from me were standing there when this black man said, God's giving you a healing ministry, and he said, where's your husband? And I turned around, and he done took off running, all right? Ran and hid. He ran and hid in the children's church, and everybody was looking for him, and nobody could find him. That was so humiliating, all right? All right, the next week was when he called, the pastor called him back there for 2 hours, and I know that's when he was telling him about the story, okay? He convinced him I had a sex demon, told him if he wanted to divorce me, that he could make it happen, he could get the kids and everything because his uncle was the judge.
All right, well, we're going to take a break.
He took the deal. The next day, the preacher called me back there with another man, and they told me they dogged me out. I mean, they told me if words could kill, I would have walked out of there black and blue. And I've got a witness that was sitting outside the door that heard it all.
Well, Andrew, we're going to take...
And he's a pastor now, but he's a pastor out in Utah right now.
Yeah, we're going to take
Heard it all.
Andrew, we're going to take a break right quick and be back in a moment with more. And we're going to get back into the story of the friends that kept telling this story that spread all the rumors around town that ruined you in your church and ruined you with your friends.
Oh, these
back in a moment.
On the job with me.
Back in a moment on the Rhino Radio Mornings.
NBC News Radio, I'm Mark Mayfield. Dr. Anthony Fauci says the coronavirus vaccine is working well against the Delta variant and is urging everyone to get their shots.
The vaccine still protects extremely well against severe disease leading to hospitalization and deaths.
Speaking on NBC's Meet the Press, the chief White House medical advisor warned that by letting the virus bounce around and continue to spread in areas with low vaccination rates, it's likely to mutate into something even stronger. A top aide to New York Governor Andrew Cuomo is calling it quits amid the latest in his sex scandal. Melissa DeRosa resigned last night. She's mentioned in a report last week from the state's attorney general that found that Cuomo sexually harassed 11 women. It detailed her role in trying to discredit and accuse her. She said the past 2 years have been emotionally and mentally trying. Cuomo is under pressure to resign and could be impeached. The Senate is a step closer to approving a more than $1 trillion infrastructure plan after voting to accept compromises negotiated over the course of the weekend.
On this vote, the yeas are 68, the nays are 29. 3/5 of the senators duly chosen and sworn having voted in the affirmative, the motion is agreed to.
Sunday's bipartisan vote shows once again it's likely the Senate will vote to approve the package when it comes up for a final vote early this week. The money would be used to improve the nation's roads, bridges, and rail, expand broadband, and address the energy grid. Apple is facing backlash for its plan to scan images in the iCloud for child sexual abuse. The goal is to match photos against a list from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, but some are calling out the tech giant for potential security and privacy issues. And the Duchess of Sussex is dealing with more sibling drama. Meghan Markle's brother called her shallow in a preview for his new reality show. Thomas Markle Jr. has joined the cast of Australia's Big Brother. In a video clip released yesterday, he claims he warned Prince Harry his sister would ruin his life. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio.
Hey, you should move over. Red right return.
Right, red right return.
No, just red right return because you're...
No, I'm saying red right return, but then right to agree.
Okay, but you're on the...
I should have said correct. I know it's red right return, but...
You're on the left and it's red right return. Red right return.
The tides can turn quick on the water. Progressive has you covered as a leader in boat insurance. Get a quote today at Progressive.com.
Oh, I was on the left. Right.
Please stop talking.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates.
Wearing a mask helps prevent the spread of COVID-19. Wear your mask correctly. Wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds before putting on your mask. Holding the ear loops or ties, make sure the mask covers your nose and mouth and secure it around your chin. Try to fit it snugly against the sides of your face. Make sure you can breathe easily and keep the mask on the entire time you're in public. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus.
I'm pretty handy around the house, but now that I have kids, I don't want to spend my Saturday installing a toilet or fixing an air conditioner. But thankfully, there's HomeAdvisor. HomeAdvisor helps me find the best home pros in my area to handle any kind of project. You can read reviews of the pros, check their availability, even book appointments online. And what my wife loves most is that HomeAdvisor is completely free to use.
Go to HomeAdvisor.com or download the free app to get started.
Welcome back into the Rhino Radio Mornings Show, The Penitentiary. We welcome back our guest, Andrah Polanis. She is our guest this morning. We're talking about Suddenly Seeking Susan, the real horror story in a small town. Yeah, you know, that's what this show is all about, is helping those who feel like that they don't have a voice get their voice heard, because there's too many voices out there on the mainstream media that don't seem to care except for what can make them money. And that's what this is about. And it's about you, my listeners. We keep you guys in our prayers and our thoughts, and I thank you guys. And if you're in financial need right now, we pray the blood of Jesus Christ over you this morning. But Andrah, we are back here, and we're going to now move ahead. We've talked about we talked about the past. We talked about your church. Now
get going.
Yeah.
I just want to say that the Baptist church in this area really came through for me back then, y'all.
Oh, okay.
Like I said, that preacher, you know, he got on Channel 6 talking about me, and they put it on TV for the whole, I don't know, thousands of people to see. But the Baptist,
you mean that many people would watch that?
me on the very next week, like a couple of months later, the Southern Baptist Association, they put me on the front page of the newspaper helping with the Thanksgiving drive.
Right.
And I was on Channel 6 all week serving Thanksgiving dinner to the homeless.
Well,
and I just want to say the Baptists in this area really came through for me back then.
Right.
I'm telling you, they are my brothers. My Baptist brothers.
Brothers
here
and
in this
sisters.
area.
Definitely
The
so.
Baptists. Yes, I love them. They love me. And they are my brothers here.
Definitely so. Well, let's dive in. Let's move towards the future. We talked about it was the 16. We talked about them running their mouth forever. We talked about it probably affecting your church life and affecting your personal life. Then let's move ahead to when you got ready to write the article, and that you were actually currently married to the bum that you're currently married to.
Well, the article okay, marrying you, and when I met you, we had a long talk, and I had to tell you about it, remember?
Yeah, I do.
And I didn't see, you and I had lived in the same town. We knew all the same people, but we had never met. So I didn't know if you knew these people, on our first date. So
Right.
I had to tell you who these people were and what happened. And then much to my surprise, you already knew them all. And then you filled me in on some things.
Yeah, I told you, let me go ahead and put in what I said. I didn't really care for him. It wasn't my time.
You had told me that you heard the story several times, and not just a story
Right.
about me.
Right.
They had talked about other girls the same way.
Yeah, wannabe rock stars always do that. I mean, it just never, I never understood why they were doing it. But yes, I did.
And you even told me then, I remember exactly what you said. You said, I didn't even believe it when I heard it. I thought they made it up.
I did. I mean, anybody with intelligence would hear these stories and go, oh, that don't make a lot of sense.
Well, I wish that some of the guys I dated, I got married. I had a brief marriage when I was 19, and it ended after 6 weeks. And he came in and asked me about the guitar situation, and we were divorced in 6 weeks, okay? And I didn't get married again until I married, the father of my children.
Right.
We were together for 11 years altogether, and it ended like this. You see what I mean?
Yeah, it ended bad because of everybody that was around. So we're not going to get out of that. Let's move ahead to me and you talking, and when you got ready to start writing the article.
One or two relationships I had between this divorce and marrying you, I had to answer the same question. They would come and it was always they would go to that church, and then they would come back and ask me about it. And I know these guys will go on the stand and say that they heard it at that church, and they'll say who they heard it from.
Wow. Well, you know,
I met you. You filled me in on a lot of missing details.
Because they were stupid enough to say something in front of me.
Well, you heard it years before I met you.
Yeah, really. I mean, I heard it in this guy's music shop. This is why I know that he was doing, and I can tell you from my point of view, before you tell your portion of this, I want to quickly elaborate into this quickly. I knew this guy in his music shop, and I knew he was working with all these different churches putting in the PA for him. In this particular church he went to, I know he did that too. But he sat in his shop telling this story because it made him feel like he was some kind of star. And I can tell you right now, guys that were going in there that were in their 20s and 30s at that time, who were probably in their 40s and 50s now, they were not believing this story. They were looking at him like he was crazy. And I was like, these young guys must have had girlfriends before, because they know this doesn't sound right. And then I heard the story, and then I heard the story. Then I heard
guys repeated the stories, and they didn't even know me.
Yeah, they repeated
There were guys that went around and told that story about me that didn't even know me. They were repeating what he said.
Right. And then the same thing happened with another guy that was nowhere near him, but he repeated the story a number of times. So everybody, he led a band, and everybody come over and played. He'd tell the story. It seemed like the only one person.
We didn't even meet him till 2 years later, and he told the story more than I think the original guy did.
Yeah, and you know, this right here, this is called rumors and stuff. But you ended up writing this article for the local newspaper.
I had to write an article, Ryan. I had just married you, and once you connected some dots for me, I started figuring out what was going on. I couldn't never understand why people, when I'd meet people, they'd like me a lot at first, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, they just wouldn't talk to me anymore. You know, guys and girls alike. You know, they just always act funny around me. And so once I met you, you filled in the blanks. I mean, there were pastors that would, you know, see me coming. I mean, these are people I needed to work with because I was called into the ministry.
Right.
But they would see me coming and walk the other way because of those stories.
Right.
And these were people I needed to work with in this area for my ministry. You know,
Correct.
it didn't have nothing to do with sex.
Right.
Okay, my priorities are completely different. Okay, then I don't walk around just looking for somebody to have sex with. All right, I'm career-minded. I mean, I like sex, but it has its place.
Well, that's
it doesn't dominate my life.
Right. That's
if
between you and me.
Sex dominates your life. You got a problem. You need to see a therapist.
Well, here's the thing. Let's get to the article. You wrote the article. You filled this in. You put it in the newspaper. And I started receiving phone calls myself from a lot of these people.
Well, the article, what I did was I wrote the article in third person.
Right.
I changed a few details, and I wrote the article as if I were interviewing an anonymous woman named Susan, which I was actually really Susan.
Correct.
But I knew that only the people that heard the rumor would know. Anybody else would think, oh, she really did, interview somebody named Susan, right?
Right.
But the people who knew about it would know that she's talking about herself. And I just presented what like I said, I don't remember anything from that night.
Right.
I remember what I was doing before I blacked out, and I remember waking up, and that's it. And but I wrote it out like it was just like it had happened to me.
Right.
And it was like I was a radio personality interviewing an anonymous sex crime victim.
Right.
But really, it was me talking about myself.
Right, correct.
I put it in the paper because I don't understand, why would you go around and tell all this
Right.
and not think she was 16 and I was 21, dude? Did you leave that out?
And then, see, I think that's the thing right there.
Look. It
The
wouldn't
age
have
thing.
mattered if I'd have been 21 and he was 21.
Right, it wouldn't have mattered,
If a
exactly.
woman is passed out and you have sex with her, it's rape. It don't matter if she's 45 and you're 19.
Exactly.
There is no statute of limitations on that.
That's right.
And the bad thing about it was I was 16 and the dudes were 21, 22. And then they went around bragging about it for what, 20-something years.
Yeah, you know, see,
That should be in dumb crook news right there.
it is dumb crook news. Well, Andra, dumb. Well, Andra, here's the thing.
And any preacher that heard that should have done the math. But see, people in Alabama don't really know how to read and add, so
well, that part,
he just didn't know how to add.
well, we can't say all of Alabama. We're just going to say that part of Alabama.
I have been more loyal to him than any of these people have, and he sided with them over me and decided to dehumanize me. What he did, he dehumanized me in the eyes of my husband, my children, my parents, my community. In the court, he dehumanized me in the eyes of the court because his uncle was the judge. They treated me like I was less than a human being. They snatched my children away from me, and I was not drinking. I was not on drugs. I even said, I'll take a psychological evaluation right now if you give him one too. I said that in court.
Well, hey, Andra, we're going to go ahead and...
They ignored me like I didn't say a word.
Tomorrow-
And just gave him my children.
Right.
And then let him take them out of the state.
Well, here's the thing.
And then made me pay him child support.
Listen, Andra, this has been a great inspiration should be a great inspiration for women to stand
Here's the point.
stand
Everybody
up.
wants to know why I'm doing this. This is why I'm doing this.
Yeah, it's
if
that-
Bill Cosby can get in trouble after all these years, these guys can too.
Yeah, and they ain't let him out.
If I don't do something about this, it'll be your children next, ladies and gentlemen, that they come just snatch out of your arms, okay? Some crooked preacher that's kin to some judge or somebody, they'll come, lady, they'll come snatch your children next. They believe in this kind of thing. Kids don't care. They did not even care how this was going to affect me or my children. They didn't care. All they wanted was to make me look bad because they didn't want me having a ministry where people were really getting healed, because they had one down there where they had people faking it. That's what they were doing. They were faking it. And
Well-
that was the real thing.
That's right. Well, you see...
They sided with the biggest Satanist that's been here for 20 years.
Well, their mindsets are below the internal intent
Against me, somebody that loved them, and I loved their children, but they obviously cared nothing about me or mine.
Well, I tell you what, Andrew, it's been enlightening, and that's
I would have stood. Let me tell you something. I love them so much.
right.
I would have stood in front of a loaded gun for that man.
Well,
and his wife and his family.
Well, that shows you how much you care. Well, tell everybody how they can listen to your podcast and where they can pick it up right quick.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm on all platforms.
Yes.
Just go anywhere you go. Type in iHeart, Spotify. My newest stuff is on Anchor. Anchor is the best app for creating podcasts because you can record your voice and put in the background music.
Yes, somebody was telling me that.
So,
yes.
yeah, download Anchor and just type in Red Letters Radio or Andrah Polanis. I've got some stuff on YouTube.
Yes.
I've got stuff everywhere.
Yes.
Just Google me, ANDRAHP_LONAS. And also, if you want to make a donation, You can give via Cash App at $Scientology. That's TZIONTOLOGY. Scientology is the study of the kingdom of God and is all biblical-based philosophy.
All right, well, we're going to take a break, guys. We want to thank Andrah Polanis for being with us this morning. Back in a moment right here on the Rhino Radio Mornings. Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Hold on 1 minute. Back in a moment on the Rhino Radio Mornings.
I'm pretty handy around the house, but now that I have kids, I don't want to spend my Saturday installing a toilet or fixing an air conditioner. But thankfully, there's Home Advisor. Home Advisor helps me find the best home pros in my area to handle any kind of project. You can read reviews of the pros, check their availability, and even book appointments online. And what my wife loves most is that Home Advisor is completely free to use.
Go to homeadvisor.com or download the free app to get started.
Home Advisor. If you think or know you had COVID-19, you can be around others after 10 days since symptoms first appeared, and after 24 hours with no fever without fever-reducing medication, and after other symptoms have improved. If you have tested positive for COVID-19 and you had no symptoms, you can be around others 10 days after you got tested for COVID-19. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/coronavirus.
It is one of the most influential stories of all time that gave us literature's greatest villain. For 100 years, we thought his story ended there. But now, he returns. Dracula, the Undead. From Bram Stoker's direct descendant, Dacre Stoker, and Dracula historian Ian Holt, comes the heart-stopping sequel to the original classic, based on Bram Stoker's own handwritten notes and extensive research. Dracula, the Undead, on October 13th, 2009. The legend lives.
This is Dave Scott, host of Spaced Out Radio. Come join us every night starting at midnight on WQEE 99.1 FM. Together, we will head down a path of mystery and unbelievable stories of people experiencing true tales of ghosts, UFOs, monsters from the finest storytellers we know. Tune in Spaced Out Radio nightly on WQEE 99.1 FM, where together, my friends, we own the night.
You know you don't want that. It's the Rhino Radio Morning.
We some southern boys with the farmer strength. Ain't nobody man enough.
Welcome back into the penitentiary.
Next, you better give respect, cause ain't nobody breaking this redneck.
All right, that's right. It's the Rhino Radio Mornings bringing you the truth. Tomorrow morning, we're going to have Shane B. Shane B will be with us. We're going to be talking about movies. We're going to carry it up a little bit and have some fun talking about movies and the new movie that's starring John Cena. You can't see him, the number one movie in the nation, The Suicide Squad. Also on Wednesday morning, we should have the one, the only T.J. Justice with us. We'll be speaking with him about some paranormal and unusual stuff. And then Thursday morning, we might have a replay of one of our shows because I think that our friend Elizabeth Sauls will be unable to make it with us on Thursday morning. She let me know this morning that she's in the midst of moving. Yeah, she's doing so well and everything. Awesome interview. Thank you, Gail. Can be a stepping stone for Andrah speaking her truth, can be a stepping stone for others, male or female, whoever ever suffered abuse. Yes, I'm glad to hear that. And that's the whole point of our show. I take some serious notes and I do it there. It's about my listeners' personal life because a lot of us, ladies and gentlemen, that's never been through a lot of this stuff, we just want to ignore it like it's just a movie of the week on Lifetime or anything like that. Look, I didn't have a perfect life. Let me tell you something. My dad wasn't a perfect human being, but I can tell you one thing, what I tell everybody, at least I was never abused or assaulted in any way negative that you see in other people's lives. If my father was just hardcore on my butt about things, that was just his generation. And my family, I take it as at least we were not abused the way so many other people were abused. But that's why I open my phone lines and my airtime, because people are important to me, that things that I can learn from other people and learn that there's real truths out there, and that it's not just something that the media wants to make up just so that people can, all right, well, let's just let Bill Cosby get away with this. Let's just let Drake Bell get away. Let's just let people get away with it because they're males and they got money and da-da-da-da-da-da, and that's the way the court system does. And I don't care about the court systems. We'll talk about that. It's different. There's a difference in the regular court system and everything. That's not the point behind a lot of this is people are suffering a lot mentally, and it messes their relationships up into the future. And this is the whole point of being an understanding person. That's what the whole point of my show is to help out people that need that. I mean, we have a good time with Shane B calling in the morning with movies. We have a good time making fun of things. We have a good time joking and doing Fake News Friday. We have a good time making fun of both sides of the aisle at times. We have a good time making fun of ourselves and all that kind of stuff. That's the whole point of having life. But also we need to have real truths out there too that help out. And that's the whole point. And that's what I love about presenting this show. When it's the Rhino Radio Penitentiary and you're my inmates, it's you guys, it's your listeners, and I try to make it about you. And everybody's been through something in life, and that's the whole point, is to show that we all have been through things and we can all move forward from it, and we need to all step up. And people that have always done wrong out there will have this mindset straight up. I'll do whatever I want and however I want. There's people out there in this world that they don't think that their manure don't stink. They think they go into the bathroom, it smells like roses when they go to the bathroom. When all of us know that it don't smell like that. So and if they've never been through nothing in their life where they've never been really abused and they've been over cared for and spoiled and everything, and we're just going to call it spoiled, and everything, of course they're not going to understand other people's lives. And of course they think if they've got away with it, they're going to continue to get away with it. And then you get up into life, and when they actually have to be punished for something, then everybody wants to feel sorry for me. Why do you want to punish me now? Well, it's like Andrew Cuomo trying to ask for forgiveness from 11 women and that he's done things to. Maybe not all of them were as bad as the other one, but we don't know exactly what was all said and done. But you can't just say, well, let him get away with it. Who cares? He's a freak. It's fine. We got to start showing people we care about each other. And if that means start punishing the right people. Well, damn, that means punishing people who have money. We can't do that, Ryan. Well, there's several famous people we punish that have money, right? Not every one of them get it punished, but some of them do. Well, I'm going to do some of these news stories tomorrow because we had a very enlightening story this morning. We'll talk about the Chick-fil-A breaking ground. We'll talk about Charles Lindbergh's baby boy dying at age 88, and a mysterious sea creature in England that had pulled people out of the water. We'll get into that tomorrow morning on the Twisted Tuesday edition. Plus, we'll have Shane B with us in the final hour. We're going to discuss with him Suicide Squad and several of the other movies that are out there. So I told him to go ahead and do what he needs to do. He does a great job on his Facebook program, and we're gonna talk about his Facebook program tomorrow as well, where he's actually watches the movies and pay attention to them. It's not just, well, this movie was pretty good because The Rock was in it. No, he actually watched the movie and goes, I love The Rock, but this movie sucked. Well, he wouldn't say it like that, but he in a professional way. I'm saying it like that, but he's a professional in his way, so he knows what he's talking about. So is what I'm saying. But we'll have him tomorrow morning. Wednesday morning, we should have guests. Thursday morning, we might have a repeat of an Elizabeth Sorrells show. And then Friday morning is Fake News Friday all week long. Once again, congratulations to the Alpharetta Aviators for defeating our Chattahoochee on Saturday night. It's Friday and Saturday, winning the championship in the Sun Belt. Hockey is back. The United Sports Cup champions return this fall, the River Dragons, as Zach D takes a little time off, takes a month off, and gets himself regrouped for hockey coming up very soon right here on your radio dial. And we'll tell you the debut of that. Plus the SEC report with the SEC network joining the JC Sports networks to bring you football, basketball, baseball, and softball all season long. Reports on that and the College Football Rewind. We'll have more sports for you, more of this, more of that, and more real true life stories right here on the Rhino Radio Mornings and the Rhino Radio Penitentiaries, because we care about all of our listeners out there. And if you're brave enough to step up and tell your story, let me know, because that's what I want to hear. I want to hear the true stories. I know it may make some of my listeners out there that hate me, because I got 28,000 people out there plus that listen to this show. A lot of them probably don't. A lot of them are haters out there, and they listen. You remember the old saying where Howard Stern, he had more people that hated him listening to him than loved him? Well, there you go. I probably have a lot of people that hate it, but we're still going to get the truth out and everything. Thank you guys for tuning in on this Monday edition, Margarita Monday edition. Thank you to Andrah Polanis for telling her story and getting it out there. And tomorrow morning we'll have Shane B with us, and we'll do a little bit of fun as we review the movies from over the weekends and review The Spirit Squad. The Spirit Squad, no, The Suicide Squad. I'm calling them The Spirit Squad. Dolph Ziggler, I'm sorry, you got me thinking like that. You guys, have a great day. This is Ryan O'Neill saying peace, love, respect, out of here. Remember, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good night.
Looking for a brew unique to you? Find it at Kroger. Discover distinctly different chameleon organic ground coffee with flavors like Guatemala and Dark and Handsome. They're so organic, so sustainable, and so good. Visit Kroger today to get yours. Looking for a brew unique to you? Find it at Kroger. Discover distinctly different chameleon organic ground coffee with flavors like Guatemala and Dark and Handsome. They're so organic, so sustainable, and so good. Visit Kroger today to get yours.